in a relationship and you unhappy with the frequency of S3X, it's because you allowed it. Yep, that's what I said. When I say allow it, what do I mean by that? It's, for one, you have to understand what the purpose of it is. You have to understand what her motivation is. You have to understand what your expectation is, good, bad, or indifferent. Let me explain. The purpose of it. Number one is to produce godly children. It's for pleasure. It's for intimacy and bonding. So now let's contrast that or look at the first 2 years, interestingly enough. During that honeymoon phase that we talked about before, it's amazing that it probably wasn't an issue, was it? And yet the dynamics and the realities of her life weren't no different. If she was single, she was busy chasing success. She had the same friends, family member, different pressures and stresses and different past traumas and experience. If she is a single mom, she had kids before, she got kids now. When you were dating her, she had kids then, still got the kids now. But magically or unmagically, it's a lot different now. So the question is, what happened? It's the motivation changed. See, women, love it, like it, or hate it, go through 3 different phases, if you will. Number one, she's doing it for validation purposes. Meaning she wants you to fall in love, to like her, to want to build a future with her. That's called validation. Then number 2, what usually happens, it becomes more so transactional. Transaction of what? Having a kid, or just to keep you happy enough to want to stay. And yet that is where the challenges now begin after the honeymoon phase. Why? Because in any successful relationship, once you go from the honeymoon phase, you have to then graduate to the fight fair phase, which is where we're going to have to go through 1,000 disagreements before we can now meet the flourish phase, is the process and evolution of a relationship. So it is when you're in that learning to fight phase is where, when validation is no longer necessary, now it becomes transactional. And if a man doesn't know how to properly love, lead, and elevate his woman, you will get stuck in a rut where oftentimes now S3X will be used as a bargaining tool, or as a tool for something that's not beneficial to either one of you. So I want to help you through that, fellas. And it's this. Instead of focusing on the problem, we need to focus on us as men, which is, once you get through the 2-year honeymoon phase, what a man should be doing at the beginning, middle, and until kingdom come is providing her the love, leadership, and elevation that she wants, needs, and deserves. So what does that mean? King, it is your responsibility. And I'm going to say this clear, even about this matter about S3X frequency. I started and I said it and I meant it, which is because we allowed it, which is this. As it pertains to the relationship, you have got to become the best version of you at all times. You should be chasing excellence in your faith walk. You should be chasing excellence in your purpose. Because at the beginning and end of the day, it is only as I become the better version and the best version that I will continue to stimulate and appeal to what her needs are, which now means your needs can be met, right? Which is that you want to be respected, you want to be supported, you want intimate S3X, because that is how we as men, and only those 3 ways, do we receive and download love from our woman. But here's the thing. Every social ill of any kind, fellas, begins and ends with a man. So here's the thing. In supreme accountability and responsibility, as a man, I am always going to put the burden on myself. Why? Because I can't change another person, nor should I try to. My job is to continue to be the best version of me so that I can be the best version for her. It ain't about doing it for her. It's about doing it for God, doing it for yourself, doing it for her, doing it for your children's children. And so we got to man up, fellas, which is, we oftentimes allow the issues by mostly due to our ignorance or misunderstanding. Because as a man, again, I'm going to be the change I want to see. And so as it pertains to continuing to level up and being the best version of you, right? What you did to get her, you got to do to keep her. And what you got to ask yourself is, if this relationship didn't work and I now needed to go back on the dating market, what would I do? And magically you would arrive at the same outcome, which is I would what? Level up my money. I would level up my muscles. I would level up my masculinity. I would level up my vision. I would level up my hustle. I level up my experience. So then if that's what you would have to do to re-enter the market, you would be wise, assuming she is a queen and that you found a wife, to continue to do that in the context of the relationship. That's just called wisdom. That's called common sense. That's called let's think this thing through a little bit better. And now I'm going to deal with the next reality. When I said you allow it, it's because you allow it. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to negotiate desire. Like, it's a no and a never. I'm not going to, because if I'm becoming the best version of me, right, and I'm loving you, leading you, right, and elevating you, I'm going to say this in a very delicate manner, and I want to say this with extreme sensitivity. But here's the thing. I'm not going to ask. Let's start there. I don't mean anything that doesn't include permission. I'm not talking about any of that. What I'm saying is last time I watched National Geographic, I didn't see the lion ask. I didn't see the baboon ask. Like, the whole point of it is if we are in a committed relationship, understanding that S3X is the glue that holds the relationship together, I don't mean in a forceful, demanding way. What I mean by that is, guess what? You cannot make a decision to only want to love her or be tender or be affectionate towards her at the end of the night. Like, no, like, that's stupid. Like, what does that mean? That means that to love her gently, to lead her strongly, and to elevate her means I'm loving on you, mind, body, spirit, soul. We praying together in the morning. Occasionally I'm going to check in on you with a text message or call. When I see you, baby, how was your day? You know what I mean? Like, let's relate and understand each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's my genuine desire being shown towards you, whether it be with a hug or a caress or just listening, not to respond, but to just hear you, right? If it's you had a long day, I need to rub your feet. Why? Because you treat others how you want to be treated, right? If it's your back hurt, it means 5, 10, 15 minutes rubbing your back. Whatever the case may be, right? Because to receive love, we got to give love, man. We got to continue to do the things that we did to get her, to keep her. Why? Because you need and want those things. So I'm going to sow what it is I want to reap, not in a forceful or demanding way, but in a realistic way. Because the same way you got her is what you got to do to keep her. And here's the thing. This is something that only we as men can control, which is ourselves, and to be the change we want to see, and to continue to love, lead, and elevate means that I must be my best version of myself on a day in and day out basis. I deserve that. God deserves that. She deserves that. My children deserve that. And so again, it's because we allowed it. Why? Not properly understanding what it is for, not properly understanding that I need to love, lead, and elevate her to get my needs met as it pertains to what? Respect, support, and intimate S3X. And the same things that I did to get her, I would be wise to do to keep her. Why? Because if I had to revisit the dating market, I'm going to have to do that anyway. So let's continue to elevate, grow, and thrive together. And what that means is we got to have courageous conversations. And what that means is we got to know some things about a thing. We got to have a maturity and a wisdom and an ability to see the bigger picture. And yet that also means use gentle wisdom. Why? Because you deserve that. She deserves that. And so what we've learned is, as it relates to the frequency of S3X, understand the purpose of it, right? Which is to procreate for pleasure and for intimacy and bonding. What we now understand, or what we must also consider, is that in the same aspect, we had the same pressures and stresses within the honeymoon phase. Once we reach the learning how to fight fair phase, in order to flourish, we are going to need to communicate openly and honestly, which is this. I I'm not going to negotiate intimacy. I'm not going to negotiate desire. Why? Because what it means is men, I have to take accountability and responsibility that I owe to her being the better version of myself day in and day out. Why? Because if I'm not going to do that with her, I'm going to have to start again and do that with somebody else anyway. And what that means is you can't wait to love her to the end of the day. You got to love on her and lead her and elevate her all throughout the way gently. Love her gently, lead her strongly, because every issue in life begins and ends with us. And that also means understanding that the expectation of it is I'm not asking. Why? Because I am going to sow with love, patience, grace, the very thing that I want back. Why? Because I am the leader. I am called. I am chosen for that regard. So I better do that with diligence and wisdom and consideration, because it's the only thing that works. As always, I'm Shaun J. Ford, real estate developer and author, wanting to remind you by clicking the link in the bio, become a part of Developer Nation. Whether you want to do small or large scale real estate, we're going to educate you, we are going to equip you, and we'll give you the opportunity, assuming your project is viable and feasible, to meet with our capital partners in order to pitch the project for financing, where through group economics and through this community that is Developer Nation, we are going to co-labor together and practice group economics in order to create generational wealth for our children's children. Like, comment, subscribe, follow as always. And as I always end, all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. I will see you in the next episode.